Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. In every podcast, I'll talk about an organizing, decluttering, productivity, or time management concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away, all in just 5 minutes. If you have questions or would like me to talk about a particular topic, just shoot me an email at claire@cluttercoach.net. I would love to hear from you. Hi, everybody, and happy 5th of July. Hope everybody had a good holiday. Today, I am posting a rerun podcast from a few years ago because of the holiday. Hope you like it. It is called Baby Steps. And I was reminded of it because I'm working now with a client who has a pretty large job to tackle. She has to clear out her entire house because she and her husband are moving to a much smaller place. And they lived there for quite a while, and there's a lot of stuff there. She's pretty overwhelmed. So one of my main strategies with her is to have her consider the baby steps. Basically, that means going from room to room and writing down all these small projects on a big sheet of paper. So instead of looking around her office and saying, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, she will simply go to the left side of the desk and work on clearing that off. And then she finishes, and then that's one little baby step off the list. This is really the way to approach big projects so you don't get overwhelmed. All right, hope you enjoy. Today's podcast is based on simple way number 21 in my book. It's about taking baby steps to advance whatever project you're working on. When you're procrastinating on something, this is an excellent way to get over the hump of fear or intimidation or worry about starting, because you're just taking one tiny step forward. Here's how it works. If you can't get started on your project or back into it after a break, chop it up into little parts that you can do one at a time. You'll be surprised at how small those bits can be, and how effective it is to focus your attention only on the very next small task you have to do. What's important is getting into motion and continuing to move forward. If your progress slows or comes to a stop, make the steps even smaller until you can find a way back in. Strive to keep moving because when you stop, it's much easier to be seduced by distractions. That danger can exist between steps too, so as you work, start thinking ahead about what the next logical task will be, so that you can smoothly segue into it. Years ago I read advice about this from Sark, the inspirational writer. She wrote that if your project is to organize your closet, and you just aren't getting to it, maybe it's because you feel overwhelmed. If so, let your first step be simply to open the closet door and look inside. That's all. Then you can stop and make a cup of tea. Come back to the project on another day and take the next small step. I love this because it acknowledges that some projects are daunting, and that's okay because you don't have to do them all at once. In fact, you can't. This is why you must never put projects on your to-do list. Projects are not doable. To-dos and tasks are doable. This is important because you might be feeling bad about how little you get done from your list when it's not actually your fault. The problem is you've put a big project on the list instead of the very next small step that advances the project. Write that step down on your to-do list using action verbs. Instead of writing closet organizing, you'll write sort through the box of shoes. It's specific and it's also telling you what the physical action is. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you think of your entire project or how much work you need to do to get it done. Remember that you can only do one thing at a time. That means your project has to get done one step at a time. This is a law of physics, my friends. Don't let it get you down. Here's more wisdom about that from the writer Anne Lamott. She writes, 30 years ago, my older brother, who was 10 years old at the time, was trying to get a report on birds written that he'd had 3 months to write. It was due the next day. We were out at our family cabin in Bolinas, and he was at the kitchen table close to tears, surrounded by binder paper and pencils and unopened books about birds, immobilized by the hugeness of the task ahead. Then my father sat down beside him, put his arm around my brother's shoulder, and said, "Bird by bird, buddy. Just take it bird by bird." You do need to know where you're trying to go with your project, what the end result you want is, such as an organized closet. However, it doesn't matter if you don't know up front all the parts that need to be done. You only need to know the very next step so you can keep going forward. You don't have to plan out each step in advance. Do that if you prefer to work that way. Sure, go ahead. But remember that plans can change as your project evolves. So don't be too attached to the plan. You'll discover more information as you move forward, and you'll make new decisions based on that information. Information that you just don't have yet, so it can't be accounted for. For a project like organizing a closet, capitalize on the natural hierarchy of steps. You just won't be able to get to the boxes at the back of the closet until you deal with the ones in front of them. Let the process flow naturally. As long as you are taking baby steps with the goal in mind, you're getting closer to it. When you narrow your focus simply to the next task you need to do, you can make progress without being distracted. Every project is a series of steps. So your action step now is to find a project that you're having trouble with and see if you can figure out what that one next thing you have to do is. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to it. The show is available on SoundCloud and Stitcher as well. And you'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net. See you next time.